I'm extremely grateful to Boris and his colleagues for the honor of participating in the program. I've mentioned to Boris that if my grandfather had not left Slovenia to go to the United States in 1905, I like to think I would have made my way to this room anyway, and would have been your colleagues simply in a different capacity. So it is also delightful for me in a very important way to be back in the neighborhood. What I'd like to do this morning is to talk about how we go about identifying progress and success for a competition system, especially considering the way in which many of the systems in the region are relatively new systems, and to think about how we go about measuring their progress and effectiveness over time. As Boris just suggested, the development of competition systems around the world is quite extraordinary part of modern economic history. To go from only a handful in mid-century in the 20th century to roughly 120 systems today. And if we were to count the number of jurisdictions that have a new system in process, we would add another 10 to 15 to the list right now. Among those, we've seen a striking growth in the number of systems that I would call active systems. By this, I mean systems that have a program of enforcement that business managers, especially in the area of merger and acquisition work, must take seriously. And of the 120 or so systems we have today, I would say at least half of them fit very comfortably into that description. In looking at this remarkable collection of developments, the issue arises, I think, for all of us: how do we know if any of this is working? How do we know that these systems have, in fact, been good, aren't simply nominal systems that exist in a code, but are actually having a positive impact? And by effectiveness, I think we can measure this in two ways. One is we would like to be able to demonstrate that what we do has a direct positive effect on economic performance. Does it improve productivity? Does it create pressure to reduce costs, to introduce new products and services? And do these developments have a tangible, powerful influence on the way in which the citizens in our countries operate? At the end of any reckoning, for those of us who are in the competition agencies, but more generally for those of us who practice in the community, that's the fundamental question by which we would evaluate what we do. A second process-related concern looks at the way in which our institutions operate. Is the competition agency functioning in a manner that permits an assessment of its work, that explains clearly what it means to do? And along with that, do we have the development of what many have called collateral institutions, legal societies, research institutions, courts, and other bodies that are critical to making competition systems function? A reason that participating in this kind of program pleases me so much is that a crucial benchmark for success of any system is the extent to which you see developing a collaboration between the competition authority and legal societies, law firms, and others. It is not a collaboration in the sense that the competition authority does whatever the bar wishes it to do. But that kind of interaction and discussion becomes a critical basis for informing the competition agency about how its programs are functioning. And in turn, the legal societies become a vital conduit through which information about the competition system functions. In other words, a healthy sign of a good system and a crucial foundation for progress is the kind of interaction that this conference and others like it seek to develop, which is a critical reason why I'm here today. What I'd like to talk about are, in thinking about how we go about evaluating where our systems are. How do we assess progress? How do we determine whether we're making good progress in the direction of building an effective system? I want to emphasize two things. I want to emphasize that the development of a good system is a long, incremental process, and that to measure our work can't really be done so much year by year, but only can be assessed over time. In other words, in terms of Olympic summer sport, this is a marathon, It's not a 100-meter dash. And those of us who hope for the development of a good system must be, by definition, long-run performers, not simply engaged in short-term cycles. The second is to look at larger observations that I think we can derive from this body of experience, the 120 authorities, to develop some observations about how we can observe progress along the way. And in many ways, I'm drawing on observations from a recent paper that I and two of my colleagues, Hugh Holman and Patricia Grant, prepared for the European Competition Journal.